And Lisa, I'm going to make you host. Do you think that'll still be okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, everyone. It is Monday evening. It is March 6th. So we are at our first team meeting of the month. So in a minute, we're going to watch a little celebration video of some great things that we are accomplishing as a team together. And before we do that, as people are signing in, just want to remind you, we're really excited that tonight, Julie Apple and myself are hosting the national Monday night community call right after this at 8 p.m. It's on the topic of transition. We've got Lori Pulver, Kim Leininger, and Bill Ellis sharing their stories. So it's going to be great. And the call is really for anyone who wants to learn more, make their journey sustainable for the long term. So we're excited. If you'll blow up the chat for us, keep things moving. That's great. We're really excited to be a part of those calls. And then a couple of things I just want to tell you logistically, because there's always a lot happening, right? There's always a lot happening. And there's tomorrow at noon is Dr. A's Conscious Leadership Forum. So he does that the first Tuesday of every month. So that is tomorrow. And then Wednesday, every other week on Wednesday is the Coach Business Call that's facilitated by Dr. A, Nick Johnson, the president of Optavia, as well as Top Leaders Training. And this week's training is on sponsoring. So I know that's an area that a lot of us want to improve our skills on and learn about. So that will be a good thing to be a part of. So a lot happening. And I am going to go ahead and start us with our celebration video. So maybe look for your name up there, cheer on our folks that are doing some big things. So hang on for just a sec. See. All right, so congratulations to everyone. Super excited by what's happening. And we're just going to talk about all of this. But would you guys like to know a big secret? Got a little information today that I get to announce on the 8 o'clock call, but Launch to Global is now open to anyone that has ever qualified as executive director, like ever. So the great thing is we really want those that want this information, those that want to learn, that want to grow, that want to learn the mindset, the habits, the skills, that this is the time. So I'm going to pop in the chat in a minute the registration info, but highly encourage you to, if you want to go with us, we have 21 of us already. Go ahead and register because you're going to want to get your flights and all that. So, whoa, Bonnie's rescheduling surgery. Look at that. That's commitment, girl. Wow. So anyway, we're excited about that. And you know, today we had Dan Bell on our executive director and above call. And part of tonight's conversation that Lisa's going to carry you through is really about doing business in this post-pandemic world, right? And for some of us, we've looked at February, might have even looked at the past few months, and you might be thinking, like, what's happening here? What's happening? Is there something wrong with me? You know, what is it? And the reality is our business is cyclical. Just like the economy is cyclical, You can look through history books. I was an economics major, if you can believe that. You can look through the history books. There are, there are patterns, there are seasons and cycles, and we're in one. We're in one in the world, kind of like we've never seen before, and also within Optavia. But Dan really talked about the importance of being centered and being grounded. It's like, there's a tree and you are the roots, right? And so what you believe in with this program, what you believe and what we offer and the business opportunity, what you came into coaching for, most likely none of that has changed. It's just that sometimes we let our vision get blurred when things get a little challenging, get a little hard. But he just talked about the importance of digging those roots, that foundation, and really it's our mindset and it is our response to challenges, right? As Helen Irwin says, the person with the most flexibility is the one that's going to go the furthest. So just like when the wind is blowing, it's okay if it blows. We just don't want it to tip you over. And sometimes that's easy to say, and especially when you're not in it, right? But a lot of us are in it. But I just want you to know these are the times that you talk to your coach, you come to the calls, you plug in and all of that. And that's why we talk about these kind of topics and what makes a difference in today's world. If you want to move forward, just like any business has to shift and change, we've got to show up differently, right? What got us here necessarily won't take us there. So on this call, we talk a lot about the motivation and the mindset piece of it and the skills you can get. Like we have the Saturday boot camps going on, and Dan spoke for an hour on this past Saturday. And I'll put the link in the chat where you can find the recording, but Dan spoke about, ways to build your business beyond social media, because we need to show up differently. And some of us came in during the pandemic, we got used to being behind our computers, but the world is changing. So Lisa is a great coach. She is great at communication skills. She's going to take us further in terms of our listening skills and our communication. But I just also want to encourage you and give you confidence as a coach, and confidence in what we offer and confidence in what you do. And I want to just be really vulnerable and give you an example of something that I became self-aware of last week. So, and Meg gave me permission to share this. So I coach Meg. Meg is my personal client. And you know how it is when especially if you're coaching somebody for business, it's very easy to get caught up in the business side of things. And that's primarily what you're talking about. But we've gone back to talking about personal health because we know that that is what is such a fundamental piece of our personal lives and our business. So she said she wanted to lose a few pounds, and we were actually going back and forth on Marco Polo. And what I said to her, because there was a time when Meg and I didn't have the closest or strongest relationship, and she would sometimes not want to share things with me, or the bad, the stuff that's not so great, like all of us, right? When we're human. And so knowing that about Meg, what I said to her was this: well, great. I'm so glad you want to, she said what her next goal was. And I said, hey, if you want to send me your starting weight, let me know. That would be great. I'm like, do you want to do that? Like, I totally put it in her lap. So she came back to me today and she was like, well, of course I don't want to do that. Like who would want to, right? It's like what the things you don't want to do in life. She's like, but she knew that was the answer. Right. So it reminded me, even with 12 years of coaching, I got into that space of worrying about what somebody's response might be, rather than saying, you know what, Meg, you said it was important to you. You know what? I think the next step is let's have you go ahead and, send me your starting weight. So we have your new benchmark going forward, and really just claiming it. So I hope that's helpful to you, because just know that at all levels, and I think we tend to do that. We tend to stand back, and really our clients need us. They need us to take them by the hand, because crazy world, they're going to want to give up on themselves. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa now. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign out so I can get ready for the other call, but see you over on the 8 o'clock call.
Thanks, Dee. Good luck.
Thanks.
Break a leg. Not really.
No,
don't break anything.
The girl with the broken arm. No.
Don't break anything. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. I want to piggyback off a couple of things that Dee said, because it really is so important to just be bold and ask those questions. And I'm curious because Dee said, we get a little discouraged, and when we feel the challenges, it's how we respond to the challenges, right? So let me back up. Dee said, you all still believe in this program, right? If you still believe in this program and in the coaching opportunity, put a 1 in the chat. And think back to when you first started the program or when you first started coaching, and think about how that felt. What were you feeling when you got some momentum and you lost some weight, and or you started acquiring clients or sponsoring coaches? And you all, if you've been on a call with me before, you know that I'm going to ask you to raise your digital hand and speak. I don't have anybody lined up to speak with me tonight, so I'm counting on all of you to chime in. So I need a couple of people. Raise your digital hand. If you don't know how to do that, if you go down to the reactions button on Zoom and click on it, there's a raise hand button. So Gina Manley, tell me how it felt when you started getting some momentum with your weight loss and or your coaching, sponsoring clients.
So, I mean, I was excited. I couldn't wait to share it with everybody, and I was scared to death. I was a Facebook stalker. I was I posted stuff with my kids, or if I checked in at a restaurant, because I'm all about making connections. Scared to death to share my own story because I had always hidden on Facebook. What are people going to think?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
What are people going to say? And then, but how are they going to know if I don't step out of that? And so once I did, it became easier. And it's like anything else. The more I did it, the easier that got. And the excitement is still there 4.5 years later.
Yeah. Thanks, Gina.
You're
Excited
welcome.
and scared. I saw excited and scared in the chat too. What about you, Michelle? What were you feeling?
I think Gina was living my life. No, Gina was just like this. No, I felt exactly the same way. I used to hide. I never used to post pictures about myself. And I remember sitting there at my kitchen table, literally shaking before I pressed post on my first post that I ever did about my weight loss, and not knowing how that would go. And then feeling so excited when my inbox, like my messenger, started blowing up with people going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" Because people knew how debilitated I had been and that I was losing weight now was just like miraculous. So it was really exciting, but it was still very challenging at the same time because it was all very new. And I was just thinking literally as we were doing this call, and I was eating my supper. That's why I wasn't on camera right away. And I remember my very first coaching call, I had a jacket on, I had a hat pulled down so you could barely see me because I hadn't lost that much weight yet, because I was still trying to hide. Even on the coaching calls, I was still hiding. So yeah, but then it got easier as you get more success with your own self-confidence, as time went on. And now
Yeah.
I'm a camera hog. So, and I love to post, and I can't post enough about myself. So anyway,
Awesome.
I'm
Thanks,
on the
Michelle.
other side of that spectrum.
Yeah, thanks. So, and if you haven't raised your hand, go ahead and drop a word in the chat. Drop a word or two in the chat about what it felt like, what you felt like when you got that momentum, what it has felt like over time. Because the reality is that is what brought you here in the first place. Lou Moore, I don't see your face, but your hand is up. What do you want to say to us? Okay.
Sorry.
Well, we'll come back to Lou.
Yes, I appreciate that, but I think it was an error, but I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. I will lower your hand. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Yes. So bring those words in the chat. Recapture that feeling, because we're all here because we still believe in the program. We still believe in the coaching opportunity. We were excited. We felt empowered. We felt hopeful. We felt all of those things. And then what happened? We started to hit some bumps in the road. And maybe you responded a couple of ways. So put a 2 in the chat if the way you responded was to sort of just back away and take your foot off the gas. Put a 3 in the chat if the way you responded was to just sort of start to, hide behind social media and cast a wide net and hope that somebody jumped in. And if you responded some other way, put that in the chat. Let's talk about what happened. So we've got this belief, we've got this momentum, and then life happens. And let's not forget the biggest life event that has happened in the past few years, that pandemic. So in the pandemic, we all got used to sitting at home. We didn't have to interact with each other. And we stopped having events in person. We stopped doing things in person. And so it got very comfortable for us to really more heavily rely on social media or texting. And not even some of us, I even stopped talking to my clients on the phone and started texting them and thought, what am I doing? I'm sitting at home and I'm texting my clients and not talking to them. And I could talk to them on the phone. So what happened for you between now and then? And then we got, now we're coming post-pandemic and we're coming back out in the world. And it's not comfortable for everyone to be out in the world, even in March of 2023. So some of us are still hiding behind social media. Some of us are still, working through what that's going to look like. But if you think back, for those of you who started as a coach pre-pandemic, Dr. Anderson used to say, if you haven't called every single person in your contact list in your phone to tell them what you're doing, then your business isn't going to grow. We have to talk to everybody about what we're doing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. So fair warning for those of you who may not be on camera, you're about to be bounced into breakout rooms. I'm going to put you into rooms of about 4 people each. And what I'd like you to do is talk about what worked for you in the past pre-pandemic, what's working for you now, or maybe what struggles or challenges you're having. Talk to each other, because there is power in this community. There is power in learning and growing from each other. So I'm going to put you in breakout rooms for about, let's call it 7 minutes. And you're going to want to come back to the recording because I'm going to sing and dance while everybody's in breakout rooms on camera. So you're going to want to come back and watch that. All right, everybody, I am going to set up these breakout rooms. How many people do we have? 44. So I'm going to put us, I'm going to put 4 to a room. I might end up in a breakout room, but if I'm in your breakout room, I'm going to bounce myself out. So, all right, we will see you all back here in about 7 minutes. So share your top tips for connecting with people in a post-pandemic world. Betsy Gagne, are you there? For some reason, you're not going to a breakout room. Oh, there you are. Okay, I assure you, fine people, I am not going to sing and dance. That is not what I'm going to do. But what I thought I would talk about while everybody is in the breakout room is intrinsic validation, because this is an important skill that we learn, that we have learned. If you've engaged with the Habit Finder curriculum, if you've engaged with anybody in the Habit Finder world as your coach, you learn about intrinsic validation. And this is a process we use to connect with people at a deeper level. It creates trust, it builds relationships, and through that relationship, it helps to move people to a point of clarity or decision. And you can use this with family, coworkers, with people who lead you, at appointments where you're selling a product or an opportunity, during coaching conversations when you're giving or receiving feedback. It's really a communication tool. And if you use it effectively, the results in all areas of life and business will improve by leaps and bounds. It truly can transform your business and take it to the next level. And it can transform relationships that are important in your life and in your work. So the most simple definition, the most simple form of intrinsic validation, the most simple definition is stepping into someone's world. Everyone has a wall of resistance. We've talked about this on Team Time before. Everyone has a wall of resistance that's put up. And you know what? Most people are not even aware that wall is there. Because behind that wall is a huge reserve of cooperation and energy that's just waiting to be released. But with the wall up, you can't access that or really connect with that person until the wall has been addressed or taken down. We hold back 40% from the people. We hold back 40% from the people we trust and love. So if we're holding back 40% from the people we trust and love, imagine how much people are holding back from us when they don't know us or don't trust us. So the key to intrinsically validating people is noticing them. Notice other people, discover what's important to them. It takes focused effort to look for the good in other people. If you are talking with someone and you have an agenda or a dialogue of self-sabotage going on, it's really difficult to notice other people. And it takes a higher level of awareness to verbalize what you notice. So think about this. How intentional are you in looking for great qualities all the time? And how good are you at telling people those things outwardly? This is a critical piece to growing a business or growing your leadership. Pay attention to this. If you're unable to attract high caliber customers, clients, coaches, if you're surrounded by people who are needy and constant crisis, if that's the majority of people you're working with, many times the answer is found in you noticing other people. Hello, Anne, you're back with us and not in a breakout room. What's happening? Let's see here if I can help you out. Oh, well, there she went to a breakout room. Okay. Moving on with intrinsic validation, we got just a couple minutes left. If your subconscious thoughts when you meet someone or you see someone, or excuse me, when you meet someone who you see as intimidating or better than you in some way, if your true feelings are, oh, you know, they would never want my product, they would never want to be a coach, or I don't have anything to offer. If that's the chatter in your head, or maybe you're thinking, well, they probably think what I'm offering isn't serious, or I don't want to be pushy, I don't want to be salesy. If these are your real thoughts, or if you have a hidden agenda to get something from someone, then subconsciously you start to see people as prey. And when this happens, you will instantly repel people. So in the most simple form, if any of your thoughts are focused on you in that moment, instead of on that person in front of you, that comes across to that person on a subconscious level. That's your energy. And energy does not lie. So think about the energy you bring to your interactions, because what we know is energy attracts like energy. And if you're looking for people with your resonating at your energy level, you're going to find them, because they will come to you, they will find you. So just know that all those self-sabotaging thoughts are just noise. And thinking about you creates that energy. When you think about the other person and focus on the interactions with them, focus on what's important to other people, and be aware of the thoughts you have and put those aside. And go back to your desire. Are you operating out of desperation or a desire to add value to a person? If you're focused on other people, you'll quickly realize what's important to the other person may not be what's important to you. Hi, Lynette, did you just join? Everybody's in a breakout room and I'm filling the time. That's okay. They're going to be coming back in 52 seconds. So I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I had a long-winded health assessment.
It is all good. That's good to
Kept trying
know.
go, stay in the moment, listen, stay in the moment, listen.
It's okay. I joked with everybody that I was going to sing and dance while they were in breakout rooms. They're going in for 7 minutes. They're talking about, top tips for engaging with people in the post-pandemic world outside of social media.
Right.
And so I filled the time by talking about intrinsic validation. So everybody will have a little surprise when they come back.
Right. Okay, great. Yeah, I know I'm late. I just thought I'm gonna hop in. The discipline's good.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. So they're coming back in just a few seconds, and then we'll
Okay.
continue with the meeting.
Okay, all right.
All right, everybody's coming back. Welcome back. Please mute yourselves if you have not already. And I would love to hear from let's see, what time is it? Let's hear from 4 people. If you raise your digital hands, and if you go fast, we can hear from more people. But let's hear from 4 people. What was one thing? Just give me one top tip that came out from your breakout room. Michelle.
Oh, one thing, get out and with more people, just get in front of more people, be out in that, like involved in your community.
Yep, get in front of more people. Thanks, Michelle. How about you, Vicki?
Frank shared with us how he increases his friend list by going to his friends and making sure they're public, and then friending people from that, so that you're not just repeating to the same however many people every week. So that was just
Okay.
really, that was like, oh, that makes sense. So even though that's
Yeah.
social media, that's a good way to increase friends.
So expanding your reach, because you're going to end up having conversations and forming relationships with those people. Yeah, great. Debbie Pasco.
So we had a good group. We had 2 old timers and 2 new people in. Beth and Bilton and I were both on, and we both love networking. And to me, that's a great way to meet people who are wanting to meet you, not because they necessarily want to go on your program, but because they want to learn about you and get to know you, so they can tell you about them and all that stuff. So definitely networking. And then Beth brought up the really good idea of, like, when you go to a thing that you go to all the time, so like an exercise or a reading group or whatever, like just move around, so that you're constantly in front of different faces all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really about getting out there, meeting people, talking to people. Shauna.
I think it felt, for me, it was good because I felt like I wasn't alone. Like we're all kind of basically sort of still doing the same thing. But one of the things I recognized was pre-pandemic, I would talk to everybody and people were always communicating. And I think the pandemic has kind of locked our lips, because when I go to the store, like nobody talks to you anymore. And everybody just kind of is laser focused. And so it made me realize that I need to start kind of getting out of my comfort zone again, because I think we all kind of got in that comfort zone that we don't have to talk to people. And I love to talk to people. So there was just a revelation for me that I need to get back to that, just striking up a conversation and being impromptu.
Yeah, absolutely. Get back to the conversation, get back to the in-person. So no, you did not miss singing and dancing. Thanks for asking. What I did during the break was I did a little training on intrinsic validation. So when you come back to watch the video, you're not going to just see me sitting there or singing and dancing, because that would not have been pretty. So let me just, with the last few minutes, let's do 2 things. Number 1, anybody else have really great ideas in your breakout rooms, please put them in the chat so that everybody can get the benefit of the ideas that were shared in the breakout rooms. And I just want to do a quick little run through of one of the most essential skills every coach needs, which is listening. And you might think you already know how to listen because we listen every day, but how well do we listen? How satisfying are your conversations really? And if you're like most people, there's some room for improvement. So I'm going to invite you to think about the way that you listen and just give you some terms. And whether you remember these or not, it doesn't matter, but there's like 3 levels of listening. One is subjective listening. When you're subjective listening, that's when you only hear what the other person is saying as it relates to you. That's when your response starts with, you know what, that happened to me too. Or, oh my gosh, you're going to go do that thing. Guess what? I'm going on vacation tomorrow. You turn the conversation immediately to you. That is subjective listening. So think about who you know. Do you know somebody who's a subjective listener? Think about what is that like to be in that conversation with that person. And if we're turning it around on us, and that's one of the things I talked about with intrinsic validation, it's not very fulfilling. The second level of listening is objective listening. This is where you focus on the person who is speaking and you're listening for meaning. You listen to them and you really hear what they said. You're not putting yourself or your opinions into the response. And this is where coaching begins. This is where you're reflecting back to them exactly what they've said. And then the third level of listening is intuitive listening. Intuitive listening is where you start to sort of glean meaning from what the other person has said. If you think about it, how many times have you been talking to someone and you watch their facial expressions and you hear how they're describing what they're talking about? And suddenly you realize, you look at them and say, you know what, I can tell from the way you're talking about this event that you went to that it really filled up something inside of you, because your face lights up when you talk about it. So the person didn't say that, but you're using your intuition and your skills. That is a deep level of listening, and that is when people really feel like they've been seen and heard by you. So I leave that with you to say, you know, the 3 levels of listening, start practicing those and start being conscious of when you're doing that. So, and we have a minute left. I would love to hear from a couple of you, kind of what, you know, when you heard me talk about listening, what came up for you, or what stood out to you? Michelle.
Well, I think it's interesting that as you were saying those 3 different levels, I could definitely identify I have been and can practice all 3, maybe in the same conversation, right? And it really depends on where my headspace is at, like how centered I am, right? How, if I haven't taken time to really clear my mind before a call, I'll tend to be more on the first one, subjective. But if my intention is to really connect, then I get into the second 2 more easily, right? So I think part of it is, for me anyway, like where I'm at with myself before I enter into a conversation, and how I'm, how I'm just going in. Does that make any sense? I don't want to rattle.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, Michelle. And it has a lot to do with our focus, right? So think about your intention going in. If your intention is to sell something or get something, right, that's one thing. If you're going in to really know that person and see them and listen to them, that's building that relationship that may ultimately lead to something down the road. And even if it doesn't, it's more satisfying and fulfilling for both of you. So, all right, you guys, thanks everybody. This is a great call tonight. I appreciate all your input and your participation, and let's go watch our fearless leader on that national call happening right now. All right, see you later. Bye, everybody.